Hi, my name is Stephanie Haft, and this is my story. I wasn't like most um, Christian young adults. My mom was Christian her whole life until I was 8, and she converted to being Jewish. I was raised in a Jewish household. My sophomore year, one of my closest friends, she kept asking me, come to youth group, come to church, come to our small group. And finally, I just caved in, and I was like, fine, like, I'll go, and just quiet her up, I guess. And I went to one of her small groups, and I loved it. And it was just a time that like I felt loved and I felt God's presence, and I hadn't felt that in the Jewish synagogue before. And by my senior year, I was involved in 3 different small groups, going to college ministry, teaching Sunday school, and going to church, and I was really involved. When I moved here, I didn't know where to go, so I was trying to keep myself open-minded, and I went to like 5 different churches and went church hopping, and nothing really fit for me. There wasn't any moments that like it really clicked in my heart. That's where I should be. I tried to listen to my church in Albuquerque's podcasts every week just to keep my heart in the right place. And I was listening, and the pastor was like, so my brother just moved out to Batesville, Arkansas, and is now going to start being the pastor there. And I was like, what? Batesville? I'm in Batesville. And I called my friend's mom back home, and I was like, can you find out where this is? And she found out immediately, and I was there. I was always raised with God being present, God being just priority in the home, but I never understood what the role of Jesus was in my life. But it took until my spring semester of my freshman year, during finals week, actually. I was cramming, and in order to like distract myself from finals, which isn't a good idea, I was watching the Bible series, it's History Channel, reading the Word and seeing it. That really like God pressed on my heart, and it was like that next Sunday, which was the last Sunday that I could be at fellowship before I had to go back to Albuquerque, that God really came to my heart and told me to accept Jesus in my life. My freshman year, I got into a relationship, and I started making little compromises that I shouldn't have, like, oh, I'm not going to go to a small group, let's stay in and watch a movie. When him and I broke up, it just shattered everything, because I realized that my relationship with this man was being put on a pedestal compared to my relationship with Christ. After I got my relationship back to where I wanted it to be with God, that's when God gave me the opportunity to have this man back in my life, and the relationship is completely transformed. It was really hard to tell my mom about like my new Christianity and way of thinking. And this winter break, we were cooking in the kitchen, and something got brought up, and she was like, yeah, so I've came to the conclusion that Jesus is my Messiah, and I accept him. And I was like what? Like, jaw dropped. Like, what? And I was like, me too. And it was just like this really awkward pause. And I remember talking to my boyfriend after that, like, did I just tell her? Like, was that official? And we invited her to church on Sunday. And of course, it was the Sunday that we take communion. And I was like, no. And then, it's being passed around, and she took it. And I was like, what? And she took her first communion, like, since being a Jew and accepting Christ, and I just got to be there for that moment. And my mom and I had never had that sort of relationship, so that was like really cool. Yeah, so looking forward, there is this trip that I plan on taking this summer. It's called the Birthright Trip. If you're Jewish, the Israeli government pays for a full trip to Israel for you for 2 weeks. And so I actually have been thinking about it lately, and I'm going to get baptized while I'm in Israel. And people are like, what? You're going on a Jewish trip and you're getting baptized? Like, my mom was like, can you do that? And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. Like, there is no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, it's happening. They're like, well, how? I'm like, just watch. Like, my name is Stephanie Haft, and this is my story.